using the Absolute? Oh, I can see it clearly, and this handheld exists to put power in your hands. On screen, you'll find the specs of the device. Feel free to take a glance, but not to worry, we'll cover everything in this deep dive review so that the absolute most is covered. See what I did there? Hi, I'm Clef, and you're watching Game Tech Talk. And the box is a nice carry case, and in it are two things, a USB-C cable and the console itself. Jumping straight into it, some of you may notice it strikes an uncanny resemblance to the Logitech G Cloud, and not to worry, we'll draw some comparisons to that and more as well. So when grabbing this, a few things automatically strikes you. First is how thin and light the device feels, and even more clever is the ergonomics seem perfectly tailored to emphasize that aspect. But simultaneously, it provides great grip, making the overall ergonomics absolutely phenomenal. If you think this device is designed for long duration handheld gaming, it certainly is. The next striking feature is that 10-point multi-touch 7-inch LTPS panel sporting 1080p resolution, 60 Hz, and up to 450 nits. As we continue, of course, we have our button array. Both analogs and triggers are Hall sensors, and with them brings a slew of benefits such as higher durability, low risks of drifting, smaller dead zones, and overall greater precisions and responsiveness over ALPS sticks. Absolute opted for membrane style face buttons and D-pad. Starting with the right side, the buttons lettering is opaque, yet can shine light through them. One thing I can appreciate is if RGB is turned off, they look just like normal printed buttons. Otherwise, while the feature remains quite basic, you can give it a personal touch by selecting between one of 12 different colors using the software. The D-pad is overall excellent, if just a bit stiff. It has a center pivot. Despite being low profile, it is not too clicky, and while the edges look steep, they are brush stuffed just enough that it doesn't try to scrape your thumbs when pulling combinations in your favorite fighting games. As for the shoulder buttons, they have a design I had never seen before. By being extremely wide and also quite tall, it makes them stand out in ways most devices don't emphasize. Not a bad thing, just one that is different. I'd say if you play games where those keys are prioritized, it's actually pleasant, but otherwise, I do find that they hinder the movement between L1 R1 and L2 R2. I'm nitpicking a bit here, but to be honest, the clickiness is one I should address more, as these buttons do not click very well from the inside. But as long as you keep your fingers arched to hit the middle or outside edges, they are quite satisfying and responsive overall. Last is a microSD, a 3.5mm jack that supports a headset, volume button up top, and a power button. Other than that, you'll find front-firing speakers and in-body microphones. Here's a quick audio test of both. Hi, my name is Clef and you're watching Game Tech Talk. This is the Absolute Review. We'll quickly go over the innards of this handheld so we can jump right into what it feels like, the pros and the cons. First is the 5200 milliamp hour battery, which is phenomenal. Absolute did not even make that thick a device, but one certain thing is that they utilized all the space they could. It is a killer feature, but there are some caveats when talking about power, and we'll cover them shortly. Inside is a MediaTek MT8365, 4GB of LPDDR4 RAM. The device is available both in 32GB and 64GB. It supports Bluetooth and Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 GHz, as well as MIMO technology, which we'll address shortly. It has gyro support and rumble motors. And last, as I forgot to mention it earlier, this handheld has the most discreet light sensor I have ever seen. Even as I am making this review, I have no clue where it's hidden on the bezels, but I can report it does adjust lighting, so there's one. I can assure you I'm usually good at finding things like that. For example, if you were looking for the like and subscribe button, I can tell you they're right underneath. I'll give you a few seconds. You should click on them to make sure they work. And if you can kindly let me know in the comments that you did find them. Jumping straight into software, much like the G Cloud, the abxylute, while running on Android, sports a very purpose-driven launcher. It doesn't have common Android features such as scrolling down from top corners or from the bottom to bring up navigation buttons. Instead, it gives you an interface that is not without reminding you of navigation styles that are common on consoles, such as the Switch or the PS4 and PS5. Outside of being initially surprised, it's something anyone can quickly get used to, is straight to the point, and also helps you get the best possible experience by keeping only one app opened at all times, which will make a segue into the chip itself. When I first researched the MT80-365, going by benchmark alones that were found, I was fooled into thinking this chip could output more than it actually can. While this review won't get into numbers and performance, I will recommend instead that you bookmark Retro Tech's excellent video covering just what is capable on that device in terms of playing natively. But in a nutshell, don't expect to do much graphically demanding native Android gaming on it. It's just not designed for that. Nor did abxylute market the device that way, but I just want to make sure you have the right expectations. It really shouldn't be a target for that handheld. Emulation, on the other hand, if you're okay going retro enough, you can actually get by with quite a few systems, even going into some 3D ones, but rather you should buy this exclusively if streaming is your #1 priority. So back to what it does and what it does best. When browsing the software, I find the interface to be a little jumpy. I'll be honest, it had me scared at first that this handheld wouldn't perform even when streaming, because if just by going from the home screen alone, it makes you wonder if that chip can really handle any decoding of signal. Because while these devices are convenient, if it means you have to adjust for them to work accordingly, well, then the convenience is out the window and it becomes a detriment. Well, thankfully, abxylute did their research, and indeed, I have not experienced a single issue. No matter the resolution I've been streaming from, if needed to down convert from 4K, for example, it's been smooth. And thanks to MIMO, M-I-M-O, I still experienced no hiccups, and that was really the one thing I was concerned with. Which, let's dive in a bit more into MIMO and what it means. In a nutshell, MIMO allows for 2 antennas instead of 1 to receive a signal. When thinking of data signal, think of cartoons with the water hose. You know, it bulks up and comes out splashing. Well, data packets is kind of the same. Even your signal can be strong enough. The more pressure there is, the more jittery it might become. So by having 2 antennas handling the workload, it's overall much smoother all around. And I can safely say that across the board, such has been my experience when doing local streaming. As for cloud gaming, I won't spend as much time talking about it, but your performance will greatly vary. An example I'm not able to showcase was Stadia. A lot of people had very different opinions of Stadia. For me, being in Montreal, where Google had massive server installations, Stadia was literally like powering a console. I wish I could show you guys. When testing xCloud, GeForce Now, and Amazon Luna, performances were quite good. Of course, depending on where you are in the world and how decent your internet is, results may vary. My best advice for you would be to test them out before buying the abxylute, and if you are happy with the results, then there is no reason for the streaming console to hold you back at all. I do believe that if an option, local streaming is still where your focus should be at, and since both series consoles and PS5 offer very good local streaming options, as well as capable PCs with capable hardware, the odds are you have everything you need to make the best use of this. But should you? Because let's be real, there are a lot of other devices that can do this. I don't mean to lead you wrong. The abxylute has a purpose, one that it is super dialed into, but is it anything that you cannot do elsewhere? And if it isn't, is it at least one of the best options to do what it's meant to do? Well, for many things, yes. And for some, No. Let's list some of the things that makes this device really appealing. The screen. While not perfect, it is overall vibrant and bright. The ergonomics, the face buttons and D-pad are really pleasant to work with. The triggers are super good on this device, and the rumble is quite punchy, albeit being a little bit noisy. The touchscreen is responsive, and really that handheld can extend its reach with a variety of native gaming and emulation. So it does offer a bit of everything outside of its main DNA, and being a nice 7-inch screen, it's also quite good to watch shows from your favorite streaming platform, something the PlayStation Portal can't do, for example. And in that sense, it's hard to pit it against the wall and call it names, because really, the price is decent and it'll get you places, but it's not all sunshine. My first con comes in the form of this new age, don't include a power brick era. If there is one thing I'm most irritated with the abxylute, is that it is very finicky in terms of power handling to charge your device. In comparison, the PS Portal can be charged with any brick in my house, much like a cell phone. The abxylute, on the other hand, will not convert to match its necessary power rating, so if your charger doesn't match what abxylute needs, too bad for you, find another power source. While it's nearly impossible that you wouldn't find a solution in your household, if you are the type of person to replace the ones around the house with superior, more modern cubes and chargers overall, you most likely will be met with an unnecessary obstacle. The next con is arguably the worst, these analogs, which for me are just not cutting it. And it's not like we are dealing with a small device like, say, a RP2S. No, rather you have something that is much bigger. People pummel on the PS Portal, but believe me, you do not have any idea just how superior playing PS5 feels on it. And I guess that comes at a price. Doing something as basic as controlling the camera was extremely difficult to do in PS5 Spider-Man 2 using the abxylute. And let's be real for a minute, camera control is not a concern on most non-shooting third-person games. So for that to become a nuisance, one can imagine just how much of a deception those sticks have got to be. Maybe that can be addressed with caps, but I don't think so, because they're so low profile. With the ones I've tried, they rub on the plastic, making the radius feel smaller. So as far as I'm concerned, caps don't work with this device, or at least they don't work well. But beyond the feel of the rubber, which is quite similar to Joy-Cons, the radius that the analog can reach, even without a cap, is too small. And as surprising to hear as it may be, I have the feeling that the highly responsive Hall sensors are actually hurting this device more than it's helping it. Because don't get me wrong, if you know Nintendo's Joy-Cons, you know these analogs. Use that as a reference, but I assure you, they do not feel like Joy-Cons. They are way too sensitive. And using Gamepad Tester, you can see here that despite having reached max value, there is still room for the sticks to move. That is after calibrating the sticks, meaning that these values are hard-coded from factory. I'm repeating myself, but it's just way too small a radius. It's uncomfortable. And that is the difference. While the majority of this review felt positive, there are major caveats, which brings me to my conclusion. Can I recommend the abxylute? I can, but you have to make willing full concessions, and if you do, it's fantastic at what it's marketed for. You have to A, set your space accordingly to keep this device steadily powered, and not forget to plug it, because while it lasts a mighty long time overall, it also takes quite long to charge as well. B, forget playing shooters. Don't expect to do competitive gaming, it's not designed for it. And last, don't be too particular about your controls overall. If you can commit while knowingly making these two sacrifices, you will get a rather inexpensive device that adorns a beautiful screen, great ergonomics, and a long-lasting battery. Another angle to look at this, if you do not care for the DualSense, I feel comfortable saying that this would be a better purchase than the PlayStation Portal, Because the screen really is great, it also gives you far more possibilities overall. But my ultimate recommendation would be to not spend the amount and instead save to go get yourself a Logitech G Cloud, a device that is much better balanced overall despite the price jump. Depending on how patient you can be, getting a Steam Deck would be immensely superior. The G Cloud got a lot of flack, but it is in every aspect, a superior product, and it's not that much more expensive when on sale. Put it this way, I would trade the carry case for a bit of improvement on the cons that this device has. While the case is nice and all, larger sticks that have a superior feel would have propelled this console way beyond where it currently stands. My final recommendation, a superb telescopic controller for a totally superior experience. Plus, you get to leverage the phone you probably already have, and when you get a better one, that controller will still have great controls.